It's as if you were given this reference point, this unique reference point, and you knew there was something tangible that was real apart from normal human interaction and normal human thinking and normal teenage thinking.
Yeah. And for me, because of my particular nature of Tim, that it was going to come out through creativity.
Yeah, of course.
Somehow that had to come through in being creative.
Yeah.
And so there was a dual part of the exploration, and then part of the creativity was to express that. And I did everything. I did every mad thing. I did every form of meditation. I joined groups. I sat at the feet of masters, and I took every drug I could lay my hands on. I studied philosophy. I mean, everything I could manage, just to change it. See, because it felt like you're in this kind of Disneyland of possibilities. There's so much because of the unique time we live in. I happened to have been born into a period where all of the spiritual traditions of the world were available to me. They were all here. Wow. It was a sweetie shop.
Now, at 15 years old, you ran away from home. Presumably you had a fight with your parents or something. And normally kids would run away maybe to a city, somewhere exciting. You ran away to a priory.
Friary.
Friary,
yes. A Franciscan friary.
Yeah.
Yes, I had a big row with my dad and ran off, decided that I'd go to this friary I'd heard of.
Yeah.
Got picked up by the police, and they took me to this friary. And I arrived, it was fantastic. I was 15, I arrived at night. And in the day, it's a beautiful, lovely friary, but at night it was a bit eerie. And I arrived at the door, I remember it pulled this big bell going dong, dong. It was like something out of a movie. And the door slowly opened, and there was this, they had a lot of elderly friars there, and there was a guy who was completely hunched over because his back had gone, and with a stick, and hello, like this. I thought, where have I come to? But actually it was great. I stayed there. They put up tramps, so they put me up with the tramps. And later I went back and lived there.
Right.
I met a gentleman there who was the guardian, Brother Bernard, who became a lifelong mentor of mine. And that was my introduction to the Christian tradition. How were they coming to this state of deep awake?
Yeah.
And they were. They're very, very profound.
Yeah. And so just keeping in sequence for the moment, at 20 years old, you were sitting at your desk studying, I think at university, and you had an experience of vast emptiness, which again was a very significant experience for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many experiences, but picking out those moments which have been pivotal. There was a time when I was studying philosophy, so I was immersed in the mind, Western philosophy too. I'd kind of decided I needed to understand that. And towards the end of my studies, having read a huge number of books and immersed myself in it, the deep awake state started suddenly opening up in a whole new way and surprised me. And that was a bit scary. It was like rushing into this vast nothingness, and something in me would hold on and go, no, I can't go there.
So what does that mean, rushing into a vast nothingness?
I know, it's very poetic, isn't it? But sometimes poetry is the only way you can explore these, don't you think? It's like...
No, but I'm interested in how did you actually feel? What was actually going on? Or wasn't going on, as the case may be?
For me, I was sitting at my desk. The time in particular that I write about and how long it's now, I was writing a book on Sartre. Writing an essay on Sartre. And kind of appropriate, being in nothingness. And there was this feeling of this big empty space, which I'm now much more familiar with, and which I had been touching, was becoming engulfing, like as if Tim could completely disappear into it. And in that way, more like a death. Okay. And that was so there was a kind of, and a feeling of I want to let go into it, and I don't want to let go into it at the same time. I want to let go into it, oh God, I don't want to let go into it. And I would resist it. Until later, the next day, when it happened and I didn't resist it.
It must take courage not to resist it when you feel you might disappear.
Well, what happened, I think what it was is that it happened the next day. I was sitting in a coffee shop with a friend of mine from university, who I'm still very close with, shared a lot of experience with, Anthony Taylor, who now runs the Alliance for Lucid Living, my organisation. And we were just, university students then. And it started happening. So I was able to go, look, Tony, something weird is happening. Watch my back, really. I'm in this situation. Make sure I'm okay. Yeah. And being Tony, he just went, okay. And he was fine. And so I just closed my eyes and let go. And what actually happened wasn't frightening at all. It was, again, as always, the most
there's a
beautiful,
feeling of expansion, and,
reassuring,
yeah.
but also, and this is the key for me, is that whilst there's this huge letting go into nothing, and in a way Tim dissolves, the actual raw experience of embodiment becomes intensely pleasurable. So that the biggest thing for that experience was breath. That there was the universe was breathing me. I can feel it now, and that to breathe was the most exquisite thing. Like I'd never noticed. Like I'd been breathing all these years, and never noticed that there was this blissful thing happening to me. Oh, it just in the simplicity of that. And that started a phase for me of just exploring breath, of going, and meditation became breath. And when I went back to the friary, after university, I went back again and stayed longer, almost became a friar, very nearly escaped. For me, I would spend a huge amount of time in the chapel. I'd do my service, my washing up or whatever it was, and rush back to the chapel. There was this little tiny chapel that I loved. And I'd just sit there. And all the friars thought I was incredibly devout. I was this kind of student who was very devout. It wasn't true. I wasn't devout at all. I was just having the most fabulously good time. Just to sit. So it was like, can I get back to the front? Now breathe. Oh, quick, do that now. Breathe.
So what was it particularly about breathing that was so important to you? I know you again in your book, you after this big experience where you were disappearing or thought you might disappear, you went up to the hill that was near where you were. Was it Brandon Hill? Or?
Brandon Hill in Bristol.
Hill, yeah. And you were just repeating yourself, this breath, this breath, this breath. So what actually happened when you were saying this breath, this breath?
It was more the other way around. I just needed to express the power of the experience, which was, again, the oneness of everything. And the way that the breath was both separate and not separate. I would breathe in and it would be inside this body, and it would breathe out and it would be one breath. And one inside this body, breathe out, one breath. But it wasn't like an intellectual recognition of it. It was, I am the universe breathing. And the sheer delight in that, and the stillness in that, and the bliss of that.
Yeah.
And with it, this love, again, opening up once more, this huge love. So
it was
to,
like
to be
it was
is
like a
to
gateway
love.
that brought you stillness,
Exactly,
and bliss,
yeah.
and
Exactly.
the feeling of love. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was your unique gateway to that.
In that moment, it was the most powerful thing I could possibly imagine. And it was the simplest thing. And in a way, you know, in my own little journey, I guess it was the perfect antidote to the fact that I'd been immersed in thought, which was also very interesting.
Yeah.
But I'd reached a dead end with it. I'd once again come back to what I'd known when I was 12, which is, do you know what? None of these clever ideas, fascinating as they are actually what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is a change of consciousness. And once again, as soon as I arrived at that place, boom, it happened. And I'm back in this, this is home. This is where I want to be. I don't know anything, but I know this. And there's this love, and there's this oneness.
And I think after that you went on a year-long meditation retreat.
What really happened was I just needed to explore it.
Yes.
So I hired a little pink cottage by a river in the country with nothing, 2 rooms, and had absolutely nothing in it whatsoever. And just hung out there.
Yeah.
And meditated, and I was practicing Tai Chi Chuan and some things like that, walked, but mainly meditated.
Yeah.
And what happens if I dive into this breath? What happens if I dive into this big stillness, into this oneness, into this love? How far can I go? What will occur? And it wasn't all easy, but a lot of it was exquisite.